Todd Monken heading to the NFL. Like I said, he's going to the Baltimore Ravens to be offensive coordinator there. Mike Bobo stepping in as the new offensive coordinator. This is his second stint with the Georgia Bulldogs. He was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach under Mark Richt from 2007 to 2014. After the 2012 season, he was a finalist for the Broyles Award, which is given to the top assistant in the country, either offense or defensive coordinator. After his first stint with the Bulldogs, he was named head coach. Things did not go as well during his time there. He finished with a record of 38-28, and that is at Colorado State. The 28-38 record, I believe that was over 5.5 seasons. I think so, maybe 6. But then Colorado State and Mike Bobo, they mutually agreed to part ways due to the lack of team success. This then led to South Carolina hiring him as their offensive coordinator, and I believe that was during Will Muschamp's tenure there for the Gamecocks. He was then named interim head coach after they fired Will Muschamp. After spending 2021 with the Auburn Tigers and Brian Harsin, he returned to Georgia as an offensive analyst, where he was part of the national championship team this past season in 2022. Todd Monken, he's going to Baltimore. He left a spot open. Kirby hired from within and quickly chose Mike Bobo to fill that open spot. Now, I want to get into some pros and cons of this hire. Some pros are the familiarity within the program. You're hiring someone who was there last season. You won't have to change anything. The verbiage, the play calls, the playbook, all that's the same language, hopefully. I mean, I imagine Kirby Smart will do it that way. I imagine they're running most of Kirby's stuff. I mean, he's going to have the offense go how he wants, just like Nick Saban at Alabama. They're defensive coaches, but the offense is going to go a certain way and to a certain extent. When Bobo arrived, it seemed as if Georgia hit another gear in 2022, passing the ball more. Remember in 2021, their defense was one of the best of all time, but there was points when the offense was just lackluster, not explosive whatsoever. But then in 2022, we saw Stetson Bennett turn into a Heisman candidate under Todd Monken. But I think Mike Bobo can get some credit there as well in the passing game. He was the lead offensive analyst as well. But Mike Bobo, another pro of this hire, he's an ace recruiter. He's one of the best recruiters in the SEC. When you go look at his 247 page, which I encourage you guys to go look at, it'll just show you like his commit list, his all-time commits, some of the best players to commit to him if he was the primary or secondary recruiter. Some of those guys are Matthew Stafford, Sony Michel, Nick Chubb, Aaron Murray, etc. A whole bunch of guys on that list. Now, some cons, maybe the bad side of the hire. If Kirby lets Bobo run his own stuff, like what exactly does that look like? I said that Kirby's going to have his offense go a certain way, but he also let Todd Monken do a lot on his own. Now, if he lets Mike Bobo do a lot of his own stuff, let him create the offense to a certain point, if I was a Georgia fan, I'm not sure I'd be too excited about that, just because of his previous stops and how his offenses have fared. And no one really knows what a Mike Bobo offense looks like. And if you want to go take a good example, I mean, his first stint with Georgia with Aaron Murray, and Matthew Stafford, I mean, their offenses were good. It's just like 2021. Like, we all knew it could be better, and then 2022 it was better. So it'll be interesting to see what the offense does look like in 2023. His previous stops have been wide, spread out, pro-style offenses. A lot of two tight end formations as well. Now, I know Georgia has amazing tight ends, but the bigger the formations, that could take away some explosiveness to a point. I know Brock Bowers is coming back. You're losing Washington, but you have Oscar Delp in there as well, so that's going to be one of the best tight end duos in college football. I imagine Kirby's going to be all for that two tight end look with some more explosiveness to the offense. So why that is like a negative, just because formational wise, doesn't mean that they can't be explosive. And I said Mike Bobo is a great recruiter, but does he want to recruit at this stage in his career, or does he just want to call plays and run the offense? If he wants to recruit, I think this is a home run hire for Kirby. I say that because there's a guy named Dylan Raiola, who's a 5-star number 1 player in the class of 2024, who as of right now, Georgia's probably the leader for him. They're battling USC and Texas for him right now at the moment. Remember, he decommitted from Ohio State. But Georgia's going to be in the market for a quarterback in the 2024 cycle, and Dylan Raiola's at the top of their list. And Mike Bobo, that's probably going to be his number one job, like starting probably right now, is to get on the phone and start recruiting. Try to get Dylan Raiola on campus as early as possible in the spring. It's just whether or not Mike Bobo wants to recruit. I'd put that as a negative because, I mean, he might just want to run the offense. And if that's the case, that's going to be a problem for Georgia, in my opinion, because they're going to recruit the defensive side of the ball so well, just because Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, Will Muschamp, some of the best recruiters in college football, are on that side of the ball. And another negative with this hire, like Kirby could have gotten any coordinator and hired anyone from any team. Like he'll pay him. Like Georgia can pay whoever they want. I'm just concerned, like, do the players want to play for Mike Bobo? I guess we'll find out after spring because they didn't have the luxury of transferring. Because Mike Bobo got hired after the window closed, just like a lot of these coaches have been. So I guess we'll see after the spring. If a lot of guys transfer out, I think that's going to tell us a lot about how the locker room feels about Mike Bobo being hired. But if there is no transfers and their spring game goes well, like their offense looks pretty good in the spring game, I think this is going to be a very good hire for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs.